Hey everyone, this is Stuart Crawford. Welcome back to our monthly podcast or YouTube video, whatever we want to call it here. We make these videos to help everyone understand what's going on in the world of technology. And today we got a great panel of digital transformation experts. So you're probably asking yourself, what the heck is digital transformation? I want to know. I really, I'm inquiring, what does that actually mean? So we have Rob from Geospace in South Florida. Jeremy joins us, and Richard joins us from the wet and soggy Bay Area. Unless I think, Jeremy, you're out of the Bay Area right now, so you may be missing that. Whatever. What are they calling it? The winter bomb hitting the west coast of the United States right now?
Yeah, what is it? What are they calling it?
Fair amount of rain out here. That's
yeah.
Cyclone or something like that.
Yeah, and of course, Rob's in beautiful Florida, and he had his winter last week when he had the 3 days of 40-degree weather. So
it was actually 22, but okay.
He's doing good. All right, so Rob, why don't you go ahead and introduce Geospace and just let everybody know what you guys do down there, and well, not just South Florida, we kind of cover the whole state.
That's correct. We're a managed service provider. We have a focus on cybersecurity and white glove help desk services. We are headquartered in Fort Lauderdale, but we're across the United States since 2005 supporting our clients.
Wonderful. And what about you guys, Jeremy? Tell us a little about BACS.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we're here out in the Bay Area, and we do managed services, but we're also dipping our toes into the digital transformation space. We feel like it is a exciting and it's not necessarily a new area, but it's an area that a lot of other MSPs have not touched, and we really feel like it adds additional value and moves beyond kind of the general MSP commoditized model where we see a lot of companies that are doing exactly what we're doing, and we really want to be a differentiator.
And we'll get into that because I think there's something there for sure. We'll talk about the MSP space. Richard, I know you are part of the team at BACS. Anything you want to add about yourself and how you fit into the puzzle?
Yeah, just a few words. So I'm relatively new to BACS. I joined after having sold an MSP. We and that firm had started doing what is now referred to as digital transformation in about 2017. So I have some experience in that domain kind of under my hat. And part of what I'm doing here is helping Jeremy and crew kind of move into this area with a little bit of, velocity.
Okay. So let's put it this way, Richard. You seem to be the seasoned veteran on the call today. At least practicing digital transformation. What does that actually mean? Because I look at it, from what I read, and say this is nothing new. I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right, and that's a very important point. This is nothing new, and a lot of people have been doing it for a very long time. The idea of digital transformation is taking the data out of your system and other sources that you can glean it from, and using that to make hopefully very good decisions about your business. And so what you really want is you want timely data, you want accurate data, and you want data that produces action. And if you can get those things, then you can make good decisions, you can make them quicker. And in my experience, that's nirvana for every CEO and CFO, is that ability to make good decisions faster.
And I think you and I have spoken about this in the past, where I think I shared my story with me and Laurie Smith. Laurie was a CEO of a oil and gas company in Calgary that, where I first got into the MSP world. And I remember sitting down with him in his boardroom, and we were looking at field data capture. So how to get oil field data from the field into head office. He said, Stuart, I don't care what it takes. I just want to be able to make real-time decisions based on accurate information. We're talking 1997 here, Richard. So that's how far I date myself, and into the realm of this, whatever we're calling, MSPs. We're all about the buzzwords, right? Let's call it digital. Let's call it digital transformation.
Well, I'll date myself in the same time period. I used to work for a company that supplied semiconductor manufacturing equipment to the people that made chips. In the late 90s, Intel prided themselves as a data-driven company. They collected data on everything. Every decision had to be data-backed. you could argue that in the mid to late 1990s, Intel was using data transformation. And you might look at Intel, we forget in 1997, they had competition. They don't have much. That may be a coincidence. But the reason I think that you're hearing more about data transformation in our world right now is that some really important things have happened in our world in the last couple of years. The first of those is that the tools that can be used to analyze data, to automate data flows, to do all of these important things have become more widely available and less expensive. And so where it used to require somebody with a computer science degree, typically some background in business analytics, to do this kind of work, now it can be done on the desktop using some of the commonly available Microsoft tools. And then Salesforce has a suite of tools called the Tableau product. Microsoft's are the Power Toys or the Power Apps, such as Power BI and Power Automate. In most cases, a lot of customers are already paying for the Microsoft Power Toys, don't even know that they're there. There's some advanced analytics capabilities that have recently introduced into Microsoft Excel. Again, people don't know they're there. And if you've been watching the news lately, AI is coming on in a big way right now. There's been a lot of news, a lot of press lately about an app called Chat GPI or GPT. Sorry. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to play around and work with it.
Yeah, it's on our radar. Absolutely.
Right. And right now it's a lot of fun, but as it gets better, it will rapidly become a business tool. If you're doing work in the Microsoft 365 portal and you want to put together some automation or some, analytics tools, you'll see a little icon there that says, get AI or have AI do this for you. Microsoft has an AI-driven wizard right now that you just enter a little bit of stuff and it'll come up with solutions for you. So machine learning and AI are becoming mainstream right now and not expensive. And I think that's the real key for small to medium-sized business right now is the not expensive part.
Well, just not to share any secrets, but Rob and I have had numerous Teams chats over the last several weeks on different AI platforms. So Rob, what is all this digital transformation, AI, machine learning, all that, the buzzwords that Richard just threw out there? What does that mean for you and, of course, the clients at Geospace?
Well, first, when I heard about, digital transformation and machine learning, I was thinking about it internally for our help desk. I wanted to remove level one. There was a company that built out on Watson. They were doing data aggregation. But the problem that I had is data, bad data in, bad data out. We would have to scrub the data. We'd have to do a lot. With the machine learning now, I think there can be, not only are they going to, gather the data, they could scrub for that kind of stuff too. We could also put in variables. Before it would just, whatever you have there, it would just digest. So I'm really interested internally for that. But I have a client that was sitting on an old CRM. The problem is it was expensive. It was Dynamics 2011. The pandemic came. He told me to hold off. He didn't know what was going to happen with his business. And during the time, I came across a guy that was on YouTube. His name is Eric Kimberling. This guy, he owns a company called Third Stage Consulting, and that's all they do. All they do is come in here and they do implementations for ERP, digital transformation using AI. But their approach was so much different. And what they call it is the people, the process, and the technologies. We were thinking of it as the technologies. We got cloud, we have, AI, we got machine learning. We were just thinking about the buzzwords, but the fact of it is I took his approach and I brought in a consultant that deals directly with Dynamics. We brought them in. Not only did they look at the company's workflow, they got everybody bought in. So we got the people aspect taken care of, the process aspect taken care of, because now we know their workflow, and the technology is there. It's Dynamics 365 by Microsoft. So I see it now. When I first heard about it, like you said, I came across Jasper, thinking Jasper was great. That was before we all heard about Chat GPT and all this other stuff, the playground. Jasper was a commercial platform. Me and you were on there, Stuart. It's very easy to write up something. My daughter called me up one time about a book report. I'm like, hey, why don't you cite Chat GPT? Your teacher won't know what it is. And I did a whole book report, and I said, if you cite it, they can't say anything. It's so new, they don't know about it. And that's how I really got deep on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of emerging technologies. Like you mentioned Jasper, and that's one that, you know, I'm not going to say it's 100% there yet to replace the human being,
Yes.
but it's pretty darn close. You know, you still need that human person to kind of make sure it makes sense, but I would say it's pretty darn close. And this whole chat GPT thing, you know, I became aware of it maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Right.
And I'm looking at it from a search perspective, going, that's going to revolutionize the way people search for information online. Let's bring Jeremy in for his feedback on this, because you know, Jeremy, let's talk about you're running an MSP business. What is that? What is all this? What opportunities exist for you now as an owner of an MSP here? Because let's face it, many of your competitors are just going to continue to, as Rob mentioned, just focus on the technology.
What one thing that we were seeing was with bigger companies, we had a couple of MSP clients that when they got to about the 200 to 250 user space, they felt like they had outgrown us because they needed things like digital transformation, and we couldn't do that. And then they started bringing IT internal. They'd hire an IT director. They'd start working with all sorts of consultants, and we really didn't have a good answer to that. So digital transformation gives us the opportunity to move into that next phase of growth for larger MSP companies. Inversely, it also invites us to the table for new companies that are looking for these types of services. They might not necessarily be our customers at this point in time. However, we can build a relationship with them by offering these services, and also later on move into the MSP space with them. So it allows us to capture a type of client that we probably would not have been able to capture prior.
So, guys, you know, I've been in this industry for just as long as all of you have been. I had hair and I was a lot skinnier when I first got into this industry. You know, we've heard all these things in the past. You know, plug and play was going to, make IT, administration redundant. Cloud was going to be the killer. Then it was cybersecurity recently. Now digital transformation. Is the ability for an MSP to offer, something around digital transformation the enabler that's going to take them to new levels? And those that don't, is it finally the nail in the coffin? Rob, why don't you go first?
I think if MSP does not evolve and start partnering with firms that can handle this, like SAP, ERP systems, these big high-end solutions, I think it is a nail in the coffin, because when cloud came around, we were into data center hosting. We were, people would go ahead and give us servers. We'd put it in our data center. When I heard cloud, I'm like, all right, that's what we've been doing, for God knows how long. And it was a great buzzword and it was good. I liked it. This is different for one aspect. There's a lot of technology right now with the machine learning where it's being brought into these big solution software, where it's taking away the redundant work in the financial world. It's taking away in the manufacturing world. It's doing a lot more sourcing, tracking of shipments. All that lower end tier stuff can be automated. And what we just got invited to a company in Dallas, it's called Kane Food. That's where I'm actually going on Sunday. We were invited because of the SAP implementer said that the current MSP right now is bottlenecking them. They're not delivering and they need to get this whole update brought in. I saw the light at that moment where I said, we need to start partnering with these companies. And I brought him in on my client with the D365. So you're right. If MSPs are going to be like they have been in the past, most of them are island, where they think that they're going to survive by themselves and not branch out. Yeah, I do think it will be the start for their demise if they do not partner with the right people.
But Richard, is it true we're going to still need infrastructure services, right?
Sort of. The comment I was going to make is, Gen Z people are moving into the business world now. So that generation is starting to graduate from college. The professionals are starting to come into the world, and the Gen Z people are digitally native. They don't need IT people for the most part. They grew up with technology. They can configure their own. In fact, oftentimes they get annoyed about the restrictions that IT departments put on them. And so, as far as the kind of classic MSP of, networking, security, making devices work, the model there is going to change. and whoever stays in that business is going to have to evolve somehow. You know, none of us are doing a lot of server work anymore because it's all kind of moved into the cloud, right? The focus has come on security. But even with security, when you push stuff into the cloud, security starts pushing to the cloud, you know, vendor and provider, and less than that. And our role more becomes training, right? You know, don't do stupid stuff. Don't click on links, right? Don't do that. I think the purpose of any company is to best serve their customers. And so if the customer has less of a need to make technology work and more of a need to give them business solutions, that's where you got to go. And if you're not capable of giving customers the business solutions that they need, then you're going to die an appropriate death.
So before I get to Jeremy, I'll share some insights here. So in 1997, when I got out of the Army and I got my first job as an IT professional, goes back to that whole time with Laurie Smith in the boardroom. My boss at the time, his name was John, and John sat down with me and said, "Hey, Stuart, I got an opportunity for you. You could either be a server guy or a desktop guy." And I went, "John, you know what? I'm very comfortable being a desktop guy. You know why? Because I love dealing with people. I love understanding how they use this stuff that we're supporting." So I went down that route of being a desktop guy. I was a horrible server guy, Nick. I once did a Stripe set without parity on a Windows server, and it failed. Okay, that's how bad of a server guy I was, right? But I was really, really good at dealing with people and understanding how they use this software and stuff like that. So I think that we're back to that. The MSP, I think, Jeremy, I'll love to hear your insight on this. I think the MSP is going to be very successful going forward is the one that understands how their clients use all this technology and able to make recommendations on what the right solutions are to bring this all together.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly as Rick and Robert have said. It's going to be a scenario where it's going to be a slow death. We need to be able to offer more value to our customers. We need to be able to show them how they can turn their IT investment into a useful tool that can help them improve their profits. If we're just kind of slogging along doing what we've been doing for the last 10 years, we're going to disappear. We're going to be useless.
You know, when software as a service started coming out, I started seeing less and less servers. Now, if you think about it, with machine learning and everything else, with the compute that's going to be part of it, there's going to be even more push to SaaS. I feel if you're holding on to your MSP with your hands and you think you're going to go into becoming a security vendor eventually, I think you're limiting yourself. I think you're just going to have a very small tank, and it's going to be very hard for you to get new leads.
We're not going to make a killing on doing 2FA.
No, and the other problem with it, you got to understand, before when we all started, there was a such thing as a distribution and there was the reseller. There is no such thing anymore. We saw all that middleware go away, and now it's direct to consumer. Microsoft now hosting Windows in Azure. They're just going to make it easier and easier for somebody to spin up something. They're not going to want to reach out to somebody. Just like Richard said, people that are really computer savvy don't want to wait. They're impatient. These are people who got to respond.
Hey, you're telling me, I've been that way the last month. I've been wanting to get all this credit card processing and all this stuff done. I go, I don't have time to. I told one credit card processor, says, "Why do I need to talk to somebody? Just give me the tools and let me set it up, right?" And then I said, "You lost your business because I had to talk to you, right?" So I'm going to make a statement, and this might be shooting myself in the foot by saying this, right? And I may alienate a whole segment of the market out there, but I'm going to say it. Most MSPs can't figure out how to market and sell their own business. How in the heck are they going to advise people how to run their business or how to use automation tools to do better marketing and sales when they can't figure this stuff out for themselves? Rick, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and I'd love to comment on that. So historically, to be an IT, provider, you need to be a techie. You need to understand how, all of this stuff works. A lot of firms were good at that. A lot of firms not so good at that. But the game is going to change a little bit, because along with analytics is going to become a need for a knowledge of manufacturing, a knowledge of accounting and finance, right? These areas. If you're going to shift from a kind of a break-fix firm into a solutions firm, you need to understand the discipline that you're, creating solutions for. Now, don't take that too far. You don't have to be an accountant. You just have to be able to sit down with an accounting person and understand how they're trying to do their job. You don't have to be a manufacturing engineer, but you do need to go into a manufacturing enterprise and understand how they're collecting data, what they're using that for, and kind of, again, what the outcome that you're trying to produce. And so, there's going to be a little bit of a shift. The classic IT guy was typically self-taught. And, whenever I'd interview people and how did you get into IT, it usually started with a story of helping mom or grandma or somebody like that, right? I think you're going to see more emphasis with people who've had diverse backgrounds. So technology plus something. And whatever that something is, I think there's going to be a space for it. So it may be finance, accounting, it may be manufacturing, it may be marketing and sales. But as we move into this data analytics future and this automation future, that's going to be essential to know something about, something beyond technology.
Wait a second here. Are we going back to the old vertical market specialization argument here where, that most of the highly successful MSPs are very specialized in a certain market or a group of markets that are similar to each other, like professional services or manufacturing and industry or transportation? Are we getting there where we say, if you're not a vertical or specialized MSP, you're going to struggle with this? Because you're right. You said it. You got to understand how manufacturing company uses their information and how things flow in a typical warehouse.
Yeah. So I don't know that we fully ever left that. I mean, you made a comment about, the companies that were most successful specializing, right? I don't know that actually went away. I think there'll still be a place for generalists because if you look at particularly small companies, everybody in a small company is a generalist. It's pretty rare that you have in smaller companies somebody who's really focused in one discipline. So there's a place for the generalist, but as you move into larger companies, then you're going to have to be more knowledgeable in specific areas. Now, in my own case, I work in a lot of manufacturing over the last few years, but, did projects for companies that ran payroll, that did legal, services, a couple of different firms that did legal services. Medical records was a big one for me. For BACS, there's a big focus on biotech and biopharma and bioservices. So that's a kind of a nice area where we as a firm have a lot of expertise. But I do think that you're going to have to think in terms of the people you hire as to what do they know beyond technology. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't think that's different. I mean, when we hired somebody, it was, they know the Windows desktop really well, but they know the Mac. They know the Windows desktop really well, but they understand how to use QuickBooks, right? These type of things. So I don't know that it's quite as siloed as, it once was.
So, I mean, from going back to my past lives and running a previous marketing agency that you guys are all familiar with, I looked at hiring an MSP and I went out to find one that understood how marketing agencies use technology. Do you think I can find one? I never found one in the 12 or 13 years. I eventually just hired a generalist who did remote support for $20 a workstation and got us by. But, I'm thinking, Rob, and maybe you can chime in some insight on this, is that, that, as what Rick said, a technologist with, this, or a technology professional with an understanding of this industry. What are you guys doing at Geospace to kind of get ready for that? Or are you down that path already?
We're already started. We got our toes in the water, and that's why I felt really good when you brought this up, because like I told you about the Dallas deal, that's how we got brought in. Open-minded. I flew out there to meet a client in Austin, and then when I went up to Dallas, I spoke to the owner. What I told them is, what is the reason that the current provider is the reason why we're at the table today? Not responsive. He's not helping us get the SAP done. Not this, not that. I had a relationship with the SAP developer over here in Fort Lauderdale with a big manufacturer. They went ahead and got us a table at the seat. What I did is I let them know what we did over there. They wanted the same. It allows food to stay on a shelf for much longer. That's what this company did. So when anybody buys food, they could say, he told me it could be on the shelf for 50 years now with this, and it doesn't have any side effects. And he said what they wanted to do is they enhance their business, and they're growing. They need people that are going to move with them. And I think a lot of MSP having growing pains or if they're having in that, this is what's going to allow opportunities, because right now people want to use this machine learning. They want to use this technology. There are companies that are already the SAP. They're already doing these implementations. There will always be an MSP that needs to be involved. These guys that are doing this are high-level computer programmers. They're not, all-in-ones. They're not taking care of everything. There's always going to be a need for end-user support. Things break, especially in warehouses. If a scanner breaks and you're doing barcoding and stuff like that. What I'm looking at is this is opening up more higher level projects that will get us in the door anywhere.
Jeremy, what Rob was saying there, talking about the barcode scanner breaking, and what Rick mentioned a few minutes ago about Gen Zers, understanding how this technology works. And if I was a Gen Zer, I'd just go, okay, got to go to Best Buy and get into the barcode scanner and plug it back in.
Use your iPhone.
or use your iPhone. Yeah, exactly. Where's the opportunity for the MSP? That's knowing the market the way I know it, and I think I know the answer. But I'm just thinking, next 5-10 years, are we going to see more MSPs or just different types of MSPs?
I think we're already seeing the stratification of the MSP market. So there's MSPs out there that really can do very basic tasks at a low cost. I ran into one MSP that their business model was responding to all requests via text. That's all they did. And they were very cheap. We had a customer that tried them out, and the experience was horrible. They couldn't really address more than the most basic task. So you're going to see the stratification where there's going to be really very low-end, inexpensive MSPs that can do a limited amount of things. What's key is for the MSPs that are able to offer more value is to be able to articulate that and show prospects and existing customers why they're different. Because if you get lumped into the same bucket, it's going to be very difficult to show your value.
And Rob, it's 2023. I'm still seeing people in the chat groups talk about, I'm just transitioning from break fix to MSP, and I always think, wow, man, you're 25 years too late, and then I see the big, massive shift towards, we're a MSP that focuses on cybersecurity. And I'm going, like, okay, you're 5 years too late now.
Right.
Rob, I think the next evolution is, or we're there now, as you mentioned, you kind of awakened to it, is that, and I think I mentioned, Arnie Bellini mentioned this something like 10 years ago, that the MSPs of the future are going to hire more MBAs than they hire MCSEs. Is that where you're seeing it?
I see that, and you have to be able to talk to a business owner when you go on these meetings. If you are talking geek and you don't understand, and this is what SharTech has been teaching for many years, and I did like their method with this, you have to know each person's role. You need to know what their pain point is. You can't go ahead and think you're going to go into a company and change an accounting system and not speak to the CFO. The owner is not the one that's going to be doing that. The owner is the one that's going to get the heat from the CFO if he goes ahead and switches something out on. So when you're dealing, especially in that, you need to know their process. You need to know their pain points. And you need to know one thing, especially in the financial world, they're not waiting around. You have to be on the game. You can't send a text to them. That don't work. So the IT side you already should have done. It's the relationships, and it's also being able to get into partner with other people to get in there will get you ahead. I think if you're closet and if you're just waiting in your backyard for opportunities, I think, Stuart, you're doing it on marketing. You could tell we're not only in Florida. I think I have almost more clients outside of Florida at this point. We have FAA towers over in Oklahoma. We have all these. And the reason why, we understand their business. We understand with the FAA, I can't send a tech on site. We don't have clearance. So how do we take care of them? We had to go ahead and adapt to their, we didn't tell them, hey, we'll send you a text and you could go to the mailbox, et cetera, at the corner and go pick this up. We would never pull that.
So Rick, but Rob was mentioned about knowing everybody's role. I look back in 1997, I wasn't so far off. I knew what the CFO of an oil company did. I knew what the land manager of an oil company did. I know what a geophysicist at an oil company did, the geologist of an oil company, the production accountant did it, So I was pretty smart back in 1997.
Well, the more forward-looking and advanced MSPs, I think, have had that philosophy for a long time. Because again, success is providing solutions, right? Coming in and, twisting something, hitting a couple of keys, and you're done. That's not a solution. That's just, fixing a problem. There's a big difference between fixing a problem and creating a solution. And our business is going to shift way more into solutions. That's just the nature of it.
So we're going back to the old solution provider days.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree, though, it will also be a lot harder for them to compare apples when you're getting somebody who's trying to commoditize our service offerings? It's going to be a lot harder when we could go ahead and speak about all these new technologies being implemented, and we have partners that we're bringing to the table saying, listen, you're running this. We understand you want machine learning. We're all at the same table. I think that will blow away people, and that will reduce that whole thing, because right now everybody looks at dollars and cents and says, oh, well, you're all bringing Office 365, you're bringing this. No, if you're doing that, you're already behind the eight ball. You should have been differentiating your services and telling them, well, listen, I understand that's what my competition does. And still, we talk about this all the time when we see people lowballing, and I go, let them have that. Those are the clients that we don't even want.
Exactly. All right, so we've been going at this for about 40 minutes now, gentlemen. Let's, we can always have a round two of this as this discussion matures. But, in closing, Jeremy, you're working, I think you're working remotely today, or probably, I think you're in a different part of the world than the rest of us. Well, I think we're representing 3 countries right now. We got, Rob and Rick are in the U.S., I'm up in Canada, and Jeremy, I believe you're down in Mexico.
I'm in Mexico. So, yeah, we got the whole NAFTA thing going today.
So that is the kind of the cornerstone of what we're talking about today, is the ability to work from anywhere on any platform, regardless of where you're located in the world, and be able to make and have business operate. I think that's kind of the cornerstone of where we're at. So let's kind of wrap it up with your vision, Jeremy. Where do you see? Jeremy's back. Where do you see us going? What's the next step in MSP who's getting awakened to this whole digital transformation world that that they're being told about?
Yeah, so I think one of the things we're seeing, and this is one of the comments I was going to make earlier, is, and I think a lot of these private equity companies that are doing these MSP roll-ups are banking on, is you can get a lot of smaller MSPs that are not offering these services. They're not maximizing the value that they're providing to the customers. Roll all those up into a big MSP, and then you've got a lot more mind share within those companies, a lot more skill set, and you can start offering these advanced technologies, which are much more difficult for smaller MSPs to offer. We already talked about what the required skill set is. So I really think that, again, it's going to be a scenario where MSPs they're either going to get subsumed by bigger MSPs and become part of a bigger organization, or they're going to die on the vine because they can't offer this additional value that's going to be required moving forward.
And you may get a whole bunch of guys like us who are losing a little bit of the top of our head there, and getting a little older in this industry, and just say, you know what, I've had a good run, guys. You young guys, you take you. Right. I'm going to pass the baton over to you, Rick. Over to you for any final comments.
Well, first off, that's a very good comment, because a lot of the older MSP owners are doing just that. They're selling out, getting what they can get for the business, and just moving into retirement. I, on the other hand, I worked my whole life to this world. As I tell people, when I was a kid, AI was a bad movie and it always caused problems. We're not seeing AI as being something bad or evil nowadays. We're seeing AI as something that can solve really important problems, not only for business, but for society. And, this is what I wanted to play in my whole life. So I have a huge passion around the ability to bring AI into business. The interesting dynamic of the world right now, if we all remember, the millennial generation was a generation that either deferred having children or didn't. The millennial generation's children are the Gen Zers. There's fewer of them, which means by definition, there's a built-in labor shortage. If we can't solve the automation issues and some of these other issues, business is going to be competing for labor at a very, very difficult pace. And so there's all kinds of priorities around being able to bring these services in. This is a place where, once again, we can be a value add, that we can give value to our customers in ways that we did 20 years ago, not keep it running, but to actually produce services that can be business changing. And I think that has to be the focus.
And so before I pass over to Rob, I'll kind of share one comment here where, when you mentioned what you're saying, it's like going to McDonald's and you have one cashier now where you used to have 4 or 5,
Right.
and you have 4 or 5 kiosks, and they're encouraging you to use the kiosk now. So that if you're an MSP and you can identify opportunities like that inside of your client base, you become more valuable to them, because now that labor shortage, as you mentioned, it's everywhere. Maybe you have technologies that can alert a maintenance team when something is starting to fail long before it ever fails, so they don't have to have that last minute firefighting, techs on board to fix an engine on a plane when it was a 5-minute fix, 3 months ago. Rob, over to you for any final insights.
My final insights on this is that I think people really need to take this serious, and they got to realize this is not to reduce low labor either. Right now in the United States, since the pandemic especially, service has gone downhill everywhere. I can't get a basic thing. And if AI could fix just even going to a restaurant to get good service or anything like that, I'd be signing up for it. So what I think is MSPs can't miss and think that this is going to replace service, that you still have to deliver excellent service.
Right.
Don't get distracted and just use these tools to make some, marketing and stuff. This is way bigger than that. This isn't to make an interesting blog post. This is the thing bigger on looking at your clients that you currently have that are spending money and have the money to go ahead and want this type of automation. Find people that are creating this. They want partners to go to market with, because right now everybody has an idea. They don't have everything, all completely done and packaged up. But I'm getting hit up. I put a LinkedIn post. Anybody who's doing AI in this MSP world, I would like to talk to you. This is kind of what I'm doing. I think there's a market even in our place for this. So I think open up your horizons. Don't be playing this as toys. Look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Good conversation for our meeting in Calgary for sure. That's this coming May when we all get together, because I think there's definitely some huge opportunity for all of us. So, let's go. Rob, why don't you share your contact information for anybody who wants to reach out and learn more about what Geospace can do to help help their organization.
I appreciate it. Geospace, we are located in South Florida, but we do service across the United States. You can reach us at 954-255-1757, or just email me, robert@geospace.com.
GIAspace.com as well as website. Jeremy, how about contact information for the group over BACS?
Sure. So Rick and I are located in Northern California, but we service all of California as well as the United States, and we have some customers in Canada and in Europe as well. And you can reach us at 650-887-4601, or just email me, jeremy@BACSIT.com.
And we'll link all their contact information in the footer below, and you can check it all out. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all your insights onto this whole world of digital transformation. I'm sure we will have more and more conversations as more thoughts start percolating its way up to the top. And, Rob, I do want to chat with you more about this whole Jasper stuff and how we can use it better. And I'm all, you and I talk about it all the time. Half the blog posts I write now are started on an AI platform and just fine tuned from there. So it's great to have this conversation. Guys, thanks again. BACSIT.com, geospace.com. Check out their websites. Well, again, we'll link it all in the description below. And my name is Stuart, signing off for today. And we'll see you on the next webinar broadcast, whatever that is. We have no real schedule. We just go with the flow. See y'all later.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks all. Great seeing you.